All right, this is CheekyCP, and this is the In the Air Tonight challenge, and I'm going to show you how I broke down this beat. All right, so let's get into it. So first off, a couple things. What I did here was I basically completely dismantled the track and I kind of built it from the ground up again. So the total feel of the rhythm is reggaeton, but it takes a long time to actually get there. And I kind of like wanted to mirror how the song went. If you listen to the real track in the Air Tonight, what happens is there's no beat, and obviously that's the whole key to the song. It like goes on for like 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden you have like a big drum break. And I try to do like the same type of thing here, but break it down a different way. So what you hear in the beginning, when you hear all these like pads and all the synths in the beginning, I'm going to solo some of this stuff together. But what you're hearing is the actual chords. This is the chords to the second part of the verse when you listen to it. So I played that on some pads. It's basically just a plugin that I use called Platinum Synth or something like that. I'll find out what the hell the name. Pure Synth Platinum, and it's by gospel musicians. I actually used just that plugin for really all the sounds here that are played out. So the pads are played regular in the beginning, and then when you get to that, the chords that are like the regular part of the verse, they're in reverse. So you kind of get that noise swell going into the chord, and that's kind of, I would say, a little bit more of like a popular technique nowadays. The other thing I did, you can see here on track 5, it's bleep blorps. That's the little bleep and blorps you hear. So that's really just a sine wave and using some delay on top of it. But the unique thing about that line particularly is that that is exactly what you hear in the background of the track. You got to listen to the track and you'll hear the keyboard player all of a sudden play that line. He's using a little bit more sustain and he's playing those notes all the way through, but I just hit 16th notes, so that way it would have like this bleep blorpy effect to it. There is another guitar line that is also being played. It is not this line here, but I kind of wanted to make it a little bit more funky, and then that's how I got this like almost like you know South American sounding type of flute line here. Okay, that's that track. And then the rest of it is like a lot of pads. I wanted to mimic the song because in the song, what happens is you really just have this like droning bass line that plays in the very background. So again, I use the same plugin. I hit one of their sub notes and I use a little bit of distortion to kind of make it gritty, and I pushed it back in the mix a little bit. So that's just like a drone that happens to build up the song. You can see that it goes from, right here, like bar 9 all the way through till the breakdown of the beat. And then other than that, there's a lot of like synthy pads that are happening. I'll play those. And I'm really just kind of taking from like an EDM technique in production where you are having the synth play just straight, like whole notes. And then you're using a side chain effect here in order to create that little rhythm. So basically the kick is kicking on a 1, 2, 3, 4. Every time the kick kicks, what happens is that track gets limited. And then when the kick is done being played, then what happens is the track rises. So you get this ah, 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 and you hear that in a lot of electronic music. And then other than that, I really wanted just to build it with drums from there. There's a couple of funny things I did. We did a Don't Sweat the Technique session on 3BeatsLater on the YouTube channel. You can check it out, where we went kind of crazy with resampling. And I used the same technique to basically get like a pad of a lot of different sounds. So that's what you hear here, this like weird like 80s type of. And that's kind of what happens at the beginning of the track, right? In The Air Tonight, there's that weird, like, sequence drum line. Other than that, it's just reggaeton, right? So I had a breakdown. The breakdown is what you hear right here. Okay. And that brings you basically into the main part of the beat, where you all of a sudden it's like you're hitting reggaeton. See? And the goal this week was to take like a reggaeton beat and then like make it really funky and weird and odd and start messing with different sounds. But I really didn't get to that stage. The only thing I really did get a chance to do, and where I actually sampled the track, was I took, I think we were all probably listening to all different Phil Collins tracks. There's one live track of him where you could actually hear more of his mic soloed. You hear a little bit of the band in the background, but you could almost hear like it's almost like his a cappella solo track. and I sampled that. And then what I did was I reversed the whole track, and I built some pads out of it, and I just like chopped it. I think I chopped it to like 64 chops or something like that. So if we go to the screen, it sounds like this in reverse. Oh, okay, I lied again. Let me find it. Let me find the real joint.
No.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is 64 different chops, but what I did was one of these tracks is actually in reverse. It might be this one. Let me see. Yeah, here we are. So this is the reverse breakdown. And I basically did the same technique that I did last week, where you chop it up and then you find a melody that actually sounds good. So that's what you hear here. I'm going to solo how it sounds without any music on top of it. So it's kind of wild because it sounds, when you're in the track, it actually sounds like just someone singing in a different language, basically. So that's really it. I'm going to play it right there just so you can kind of hear how that sounds, and then I'll cut it out after that. So here we go. Okay, that's the beat.